Israel's military confirms it is carrying out precise strikes on military targets in Iran. Iran state media is reporting that several large explosions have been heard in Tehran and nearby cities. Iran has closed its airspace now. That's according to its civil aviation authority. Iraq has also reportedly suspended flights until further notice. The IDF provided an update a short time ago.
Right now, the Israel Defense Forces is conducting precise strikes on military targets in Iran. The regime in Iran and its proxies in the region have been relentlessly attacking Israel since October 7th on 7 fronts, including direct attacks from Iranian soil. Like every other sovereign country in the world, the State of Israel has the right and the duty to respond. Our defensive and offensive capabilities are fully mobilized. We will do whatever necessary to defend the State of Israel and the people of Israel. In response to months of continuous attacks from the regime in Iran against the State of Israel, right now, the Israel Defense Forces is conducting precise strikes on military targets in Iran. The regime in Iran and its proxies in the region have been relentlessly attacking Israel since October 7th on 7 fronts, including direct attacks from Iranian soil. Like every other sovereign country in the world, the State of Israel has the right and the duty to respond.
I mean, the statement that came out from the Israel Defense Forces and by their spokesperson specifically said they were going after military targets, and that is what people will be looking for. If they contain this attack to military targets alone, then that offers potentially an off-ramp for de-escalation. Iran has known that when it struck Israel with such force, with more than 180 ballistic missiles on the 1st of October, that Israel would have to respond. And Israel, in its statement, is also talking about how this retaliation is not just from that direct strike from Iran that it suffered, but also it talks about a war on 7 fronts against militias that are aligned to Iran. Of course, we have Hezbollah, which has been fighting with Israel in the north of this country. You've got Hamas in the south behind the October the 7th attacks. You've also got the Houthi militants in Yemen that have been launching long-range attacks against Israel. And as well, you have Iranian-backed militias in Iraq, in Syria. You have, of course, militants in the West Bank that have also been targeting Israel. And so this country is a country that says it's fighting a war on 7 fronts. It is having to, in the wake of the October the 7th attacks, restore deterrence in the region. And that's why you've seen Israel going after the leaders of these organizations, Hamas and Hezbollah. You've had Iran see its closest allies suffer devastating degradation in their capabilities over the last year, and in particular over the last few weeks. That triggered that Iranian ballistic missile attack on the 1st of October, and now you're seeing the Israeli response. If senior members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, for example, are killed in this attack, or if maybe they go after the Israelis are targeting senior political leaders, which does not seem to be the case, they're saying they're going after military targets alone, then that could potentially trigger a larger Iranian response. If this attack is contained, though, to military targets, then that would provide an opportunity for Iran to decide it doesn't want to escalate further. The indications that have been given by the Iranian leadership is that it doesn't want all-out war. And so if Israel does choose to contain, as it's saying it has done, this strike back to military targets, then that would potentially provide the off-ramp, or the other possibility that analysts have been saying and sources that I've been speaking to have been saying is that if Iran feels it does have to retaliate in some way, that it chooses to launch a smaller number of missiles against Israel in a future attack. And that too would be a signal that Iran does not want to escalate and is seeking to maybe try to reduce this back and forth.
This is a significant and serious escalation. I spoke with former IDF spokesperson Jonathan Conricus, who says this will likely not be the last strike and is an indication of a wider war now in the Middle East. Until this point, Israel has been striking its proxies, and the proxies for Iran have been striking Israel. But this is different.
What we're seeing is the first Israeli round of strikes. I don't think that it will be the last one. I think that there will be an Iranian response, and after that, additional Israeli strikes. So what we're seeing is really, I think, a new chapter in the history or the story of the Middle East. Now, that relates to the targets, because since this is the first and not the last attack, I think that what Israel is striking, and I think that the reports will come in the coming hours, perhaps while you are still on air, will be military targets all over Iran, specifically those that are related to air defenses and missile installations, which are at the top priority for Israel to deal with. One, because they're striking out missile defenses, radars, and the other components of Iranian air defenses will be important for the future of Israeli freedom of action above Iran. And two, missile locations, because they are the ones that have been fired towards Israel, and hence the direct correlation. But I think that what we're seeing now is a new strategy being put in place. I do know that the Americans, the White House, was notified a few hours before the strike, and I understand that it is only so far military targets, not nuclear, and not necessarily targets that are related to the production of oil. Even though they're all there for the striking, I think Israel has currently made the decision to strike only military targets.
Okay, as you say, the White House would have been notified a couple of hours before these retaliatory strikes hit. And you say this is the start of a new strategy. What is that strategy? When's the last time Israel actually hit targets inside of Iran?
The last time was about a week after the 14th of April, the first Iranian ballistic missile assault on Iran. And then Israel retaliated with a very, very small, I would say minimalistic strike in one location near Isfahan, central Iran. And that was just to prove the point that we can get through your defenses. Israel wanted to do more, but refrained from doing so under American advice or pressure.